Live. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Do you hear us? Okay. Thank you. Hello. Okay, let's start our session. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the third webinar um, of today. I'm thrilled to have you again with us to attend the third webinar of this series. It's to discuss real-world AI application, practical application in the educational sector. So before we begin, I would like to know if you already read the online chapter. Reward, yes, good, good. Yes, it's about odd and probability and how to use um, algorithm in real world scenario, because you know that search and planning algorithm we use it for gaming cannot be a good deal for the real world application, and this is why probability and all that machine learning algorithm can be the suitable solution for this case. Yeah, not easy, but it's very important to know how all the probabilities important to handle with environments with the uncertain environment and unpredictable situation. Okay, so let me introduce to you our speaker for today, our guest speaker, Dr. Rafael Ferreira Melo, who joining us from Brazil. Despite the time difference between Luxembourg and Brazil, he made the time to be with us. Thank you so much. We are truly grateful to be able to join us at that time. So, Dr. Rafael, he is a PhD, has a PhD in computer science with research interests that span across learning analytics, generative AI, and natural language processing. He is a professor at the Rural Federal University of Pernambuco and senior researcher at CESA, where he holds the position of course coordinator for the master and PhD program. In the last few years, Dr. Melo has supported the adoption of learning analytics technique and tools in several institutions in Brazil. One recognition of his contribution is that Dr. Melo is the leading researcher at two national level projects funded by the Brazilian Ministry of Education, aiming the development of natural language processing and learning analytics technique to enhance student writing production and learning analytic dashboard to support decision making regarding the national education plan. Moreover, he has worked in several multinational research projects, which involve institutional and organizational partners in Europe, Australia, and Latin America. He has published in the leading international journal and conference proceeding in the field of his research. He also served as an assistant editor and reviewer for several journals and conferences, including the International Learning Analytics and Knowledge Conference, Journal of Learning Analytics, Computer and Education, British Journal of Educational Technology, and Internet and Higher Education. So we are very happy and honored to have him here to share his knowledge, work, and insight with us. So during the presentation, if you have any question or comment, you can post it already in the chat. We will try to organize your question after the talk of our speaker. We will try to answer the technical and other questions related to the schedule and organization of the webinar. Our speaker will be presenting for approximately 45 minutes, followed by 15 minutes of Q&A session. Yes, so the recording of this webinar will be available after the live presentation for those who want to rewatch or for those who are not able to join us today. So, without further ado, I will give the floor to our speaker. Thank you again, and yes, you can start. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Sana. Thanks for the invitation as well. It's a pleasure to be here today
You're
with
welcome.
you. And I will try to present some ideas on how AI and especially natural language processing is impacting education. And I won't go into details about my background, as Sana just already mentioned, but I think just one thing is important. My main background in terms of my education is computer science, but since 2017, when I did my postdoc at University of Edinburgh, I work more with applied natural language processing to education. So basically, all of my research and projects are related to this applied science. I'm not very into the core of NLP nowadays, but I use my knowledge that I acquire over my PhD studies in these applications for education. Uh, I will try to show some technical details, but in general, I will be more broad so everyone can understand what I want to say to you and what are the main points that I think we need to consider in this field. First of all, I always like to start by asking this question. So, who hasn't used AI in the last week, in the last month, probably today? I know that it's 1 p.m. for you. So probably today you already have used AI. If you say no, please consider that we have these copilots, which is nice to use, but in the end, we are using Netflix, we are using Waze or Google Maps, we are using apps to deliver food, personal assistants, or if you are using for research, you probably have used some of these assistants or to create image, to help you to write, to find good references. And if you are not doing any of this, probably you use at least Google, right? So if you are using Google, you are using artificial intelligence in our daily basis. So if we are fine in using artificial intelligence for our own life, I forgot to include, I could include also social networks. If you are using Instagram, LinkedIn, or other networks, you are using AI as well. So the question is, if we are fine in using AI for our personal life, why sometimes we are not fine in using this for education or for the like workplace, and we are so afraid of using AI in our work, but we are not afraid to using our, AI in our personal life. For me, it's a little bit strange when I talk to people and people raise a lot of concern on this direction. I don't believe we should use AI without critical think about the applications and design of courses or students. Well, design what we expect the students to reach. But I don't think we, especially we that are in the university studying things and topics like this and trying to do research, I don't think we should leave AI outside the loop anymore. Uh, yeah, so this is not a question about, for me, it's not a question of should we use or not. It's more a question on how to use it and how to make it work properly. So before I show you some details of the educational applications, I would like just to give you a very fast and direct background on natural language processing. And I know this is image, but I think image it's easier to understand. But traditional natural language processing models. Oh, sorry, I just realized these names are in Portuguese, but you will understand. These traditional NLP models, they usually works for classification or clustering. And for instance, in this first picture, we are classifying a cat. So it's just an algorithm that can say this is a cat. And then we have also these borders, these red borders around the cat to say the position of the cat. And then we can have multiple animals. And then we can have the semantics of these animals. So for NLP, it's kind of similar. I will show details of text, but I really like to start with these pictures because it makes things easier to understand. This is traditional NLP. This is what we have been doing for 50 years, and before more or less 2020, when the things started to change. So there is one basic concept that it's important for you to realize. For NLP, when you are processing text into your computers, everything is numbers. So sometimes we think the computer is understanding the text, and it may looks like it's understanding, but in the end, for the computer, it's a sequence of numbers. So it's very important to know that, because I know that these recent models interact with us very clear, but internally what they are processing are numbers, probabilities, and trying to suggest like the next word or category for text. In the end, everything are numbers inside the computer. And just a very quick pipeline for traditional NLP. We'll have the input of text and then several processing steps, and then you'll have the text annotated and ready for be used for an application. Let me very quickly go through these steps. So imagine a text, and then you have the first step, which is tokenization. So before anything, the algorithms will split your text into tokens, and then the easiest way to translate these texts into numbers is to count the number of words, the frequency of each word in the text. So in this case, this 1, 3, 1, 1, 1, these will be the numbers that will recognize this text somehow. You can also split sentences, and it's not that simple. For some language, it is, and we have many models to do that, but for some other language, it's not that simple, but anyways, it's a step for NLP. And then you can categorize the words into grammatical classes, which is called part of speech tagging. And then name entity recognition, when you extract specific entities from the text. In this case, we have Google as organization, John as a person, and 2015 as a date. And then we have this dependency parser with the syntactic connections. You have what is the direct object, what is the subject of the phrase, and many others. And then you can also have coreference resolution, when you have just the pronoun here, the it, which is referencing to this big phrase over here. And finally, you have semantic rule annotation, where it's try to extract the semantic of the word within the context of a sentence. So keep in mind that for almost all the traditional NLP applications, before you categorize something, before you extract something, you do many of these steps. It's not a requirement to run all of them, but as you saw, I think I have another slide. Okay. If you go deeper into the semantics and syntax of the text, you'll be able to do more like deeper analysis of the text. If you go shallower, it's possible to do tasks, but with less information. So it will be faster, but maybe not deeper. And in the end, again, I just show you this full pipeline to show how the computer will process everything to extract what you want from a text. For the traditional models, right? I will show you the generative ones in a moment. But main application for NLP are information retrieval, text classification, information extraction. Information retrieval, for those who don't know, it's like searching within a big group of documents, like searching on the internet. So Google is an information retrieval system. Text classification, when you try to categorize specific text. For instance, sentiment analysis is one of the most famous ones. Information extraction, when you want to extract specific information from the text. And summarization and translation is straightforward, but in the end, these traditional models were trying to do specific tasks like these ones. So you had a pipeline, you have an algorithm in the end, usually using machine learning or statistics, and then you can perform these activities. Since 2029 or 2028, 2019 or 2018, we started to see these generative models starting to have more good results. It was with GPT 3.5 in 2021, 2022 that everything became popular. But in the research field, we had many universities creating this model, even like 5 or 6 years before GPT 3.5. But what is the idea in this case? We have a sequence of tokens, and the large language model, they have like several probabilities within these models, which try to decide what is the next more likely word to appear in this sentence. So I know that this is very simplistic, but in the end, when you are using LLM, any of them, the main idea is to predict the next word. So when you see a big text created and it makes sense and it's beautiful and you can use it, keep in mind that what the algorithm is doing is predicting the next word. And then, of course, as it has a lot of data, these models were trained in a lot of data. They have a very good prediction, but in the end, it's just predicting the next word. And I always like to show this picture, not because I will explain it, but this is the, like how can I say that? This is the initial phase of LLMs. It was proposed by some researchers from Google in 2017. And this is the transform architecture. So the GPT, the T of GPT means transforms. So this is what enabled these new models to be created. But in the end, we are using concepts from neural networks that comes back like to 40s, and word embeddings from the 50s, language models. The first language models were created in the 90s. they were not large language models because the researchers didn't have the computer power to process many data. And finally, in the 2010 decade, the deep neural networks, and in 2017, the transform architecture, they enable the creation of these language models. So what I want to say is, in terms of research and technology, we were able to do this like at least 20 years ago. The difference is that now these companies has computer power and data. So GPT 3.5 in the beginning, but now this GPT 3.0 and Gemini and one of these others models, they are available because it's possible to have this data and it's possible to process it. Even for the Chinese LLMs who doesn't use that much computer power, it still requires a lot of data, and it requires the computer power that we didn't have 20 years ago. So this is a very broad overview of NLP and large language models, but I want to go into the potential applications for education. I selected 3 of them so you can see different aspects. The first one is it becomes from it was proposed by Duolingo. Duolingo it's a ed tech that it's one of the most innovative ed techs that we have. So they are always trying to apply AI to do many things. And initially, I will show you some videos. This is just the initial.
Get the most advanced language learning yet.
This is just the initial advertise when GPT started to be used. They are using the OpenAI models.
With Duolingo Max, all the benefits of Super Duolingo, plus new features powered by artificial intelligence. Understand mistakes better with Explain My Answer, AI-powered explanations designed to level up your learning. Practice conversations with roleplay, an interactive AI experience that puts your real-world language skills to the test. Level up with the most advanced language learning yet, Duolingo Max.
So basically what they were doing when GPT was launched was to create these chatbots who could interact with people, students. But this is what many institutions were doing, right? And I think the most innovative thing that they are
Duolingo
doing
Max.
is
Get the most advanced language learning
jump to the following
yet.
slide. Okay, so they have this. It's 30 seconds. Just I will leave it to them to explain you.
Historically, we haven't been able to get people to practice conversation very well with computers. But now with AI, you actually can have a conversation with a fully automated character, and the character adjusts to your level. Now, what we're really excited about is that it turns out most people actually, when they're just language beginners or intermediate, they don't want to have a conversation with another human because they're too shy about it. But having a conversation with an animated character actually allows them to practice their conversation. So we're hoping this will really bring Duolingo to the next level in terms of teaching languages.
So I don't know if you got it, but in general, what these learning language platforms have is they used to use AI for listening. They used to use AI for not for listening, but for writing, for grammar. But they were missing for listening somehow, but they were missing this fluence in speaking, because this is something that was not possible before these generative models. And then they create this platform where you can call these characters. I have another video here. I won't show you everything because it's big, Oh, that I don't know. It's in Portuguese. Let me try to change the subtitles for English. English. Okay. I want you don't need to listen to this. I will just show you something. But in the end, they are calling the characters. You can choose which character you want to talk. And then while you are speaking and interact with this character, they are like analyzing your speaking and trying to analyze your listening, so they can, for one side, adapt the conversation, so you can keep you motivated to continue to talk to the character. And on the other side, it write reports for teachers to understand how you are going. And this is an example of someone interact with Lily, which is the character. And I don't know if it would show in the subtitles. Let me go further. Yeah, in the end, I think it's Spanish now, right? But in the end, this guy just switched to French, and the character also switched to French. So it's not about teaching English, it's about teaching language in general, because this AI could adapt to different languages. I can send you also my slides without this PDF, because you can also access these videos. But in general, I have the links for the videos as well. Another example is the Cambridge English. They have the Cambridge English is a well-known, like, they have the English course, but they are more famous for the books. And they have this Write and Improve platform. It's basically
along with the range of
a
prompts
platform
to
where
teach.
you can write.
You write, you submit your
You
work,
can write
and improve,
and
reviews,
submit your
and
work,
returns
and
it
then
in a
it will
matter of
show a
seconds.
feedback. It can
This
also
very
show
simplicity
the progress.
underlines
Here.
and as the tool refines it,
They based on your essay, it analyzes several points, and it writes feedbacks, and it connects with the books that they have to help you to improve your progress. So this is more what they were doing, the companies were doing before generative AI. But this example is very good because it has a lot of insights, as you can see here in the right side of the video. Yeah, basically,
stretching it to
I won't
claim
show
that
the
Write
whole
and
video because
Improve
of the
has a
time,
personality.
but it
Teachers can also assign workbooks to a whole class
extracts
and then
information
track
from
their
students'
progress.
activities, and it
We
also
could go on,
feedback
demonstrating
with
the
teachers,
amazing functionality of
and
Write
it
and
can be
Improve.
used in the learning process. Finally, okay. I also want to bring this Story Spark, which is also a startup. In this case, I will just, we don't need to hear the video, just to show. But in this case, it's not targeting specifically education. But as you can see, you can create a book, a kid's book, with just a few clicks. So you can come here, select the age of the students, select some specific parameters for the book, and then you write a short text, and it creates a whole history, in this case of a panda, and describing this history. It's just, I think, 7 or 8 pages long. But my point here is, I like to show this example because I think this is one of the things that we are scared in using AI in education, saying that the students will use AI to have the activities done, the completely activity, so the student could have this whole book within seconds. And my point is that these students, this book was created, I think, for students in age 7 or 6. When they become professionals, they'll be completely immersed on a world with AI. So it's important for them to understand that this is available. And for teachers, I think the point is we need to rethink what we are asking students. I have a colleague who is using this platform, and he is asking students to change this history using the context of our city, because when they create the system create the history, it's very broad and generic, and the students need to use this as starting point, but changing everything to connect with what we have here in Brazil, and more specifically in northeast of Brazil, where I'm based. So I think this is the type of activity that we can change. Instead of asking students to write histories, we can ask them to use an AI to have a starting point, and then they need to adapt to their reality. This is something. Always keep in mind that in the future, these kids will be in a world completely immersed with AI. Let me move to the next slide. Okay. These are some broader cases from the industry, but I also wanted to bring you 2 case studies that I'm working in my lab. It's very quick as well, but we have this platform called Tutoria. It's a Portuguese number, but you can have this like tutor using AI, because AI in Portuguese is IA, so it's a kind of joke with the number, with the name. But for us, Tutoria is a platform to support teachers in correcting activities. So basically, well, I will show you the next slide, and then I will come back to this one. So teachers start to correct open-ended questions, and when they move to the next, like they are evaluating a question for a specific student. So this is something that the teacher think it's right or it's wrong. So it creates this tag. And then when you will go to the next student, it will be this same tag will be recommended. So you can accept or reject the tag. And when you have a tag, it's not, I don't know if you can read it, but it's not important. The important part is that the teacher can use AI to write this feedback message. So you can see here in the left, bottom left, clicking a button, and then we use LLM to generate this text. And of course, everything is available for teachers, so it's not fixed. They can change this text, but our goal is to help them to write a better message, feedback message, and also have this recommendation of tags who can help them to speed up the process of evaluating questions from all the students. In the end, we had an experiment, and we asked teachers and students, and the students were saying, "Oh, it was great, the experience of using Tutoria, because now I can understand how to improve my performance because they are receiving a better quality feedback." And other students say the teacher knows me personally. So as we have this specific feedback for each student, it's personalized, and the student feels that the teacher sent a feedback for themselves. On the other side, the teachers said that they never felt so smart grading an activity because they had the support to write the feedback. And also, they were not worried to, like, they were not creating activities based on the time that they have to grade this activity, because many teachers told us that they use multiple choice questions not because it's better, but because they don't have time to grade other type of activities. So in this case, with the tool, they were able to do this type of activity because the system will help them to grade the activities. And we also have this other tool called Escreva Mais. It's somehow like Write More. And these were, I will speed up a little bit, but I can answer questions about this just to keep the correct time for the presentation. But with this project, we created this concept of unplugged AI in education. And the idea is of unplugged. It's not that we are not using internet, but the students are doing the activities on a piece of paper. So the students are not using computers for the activities, because many times we go to schools and they say, we don't have computers for students, our students don't have cell phones, we don't have internet connection, so we cannot use an AI. And we say this is not correct. We can use this approach that we have, where the students write essays. For in this case, what was a essay scoring project, the students write essays in a piece of paper, and then we can scan this student answer. We go over a computer vision process, and then NLP process, and then we have this feedback for teachers. I will show you very quick how it goes. So just to give you an idea of the app, so the teachers take pictures of students' answers, and then when they have this picture, so this is what we get in the server side. So the first step is computer vision. So we basically extract the words from the text. And just example, this is what we expect to have. So this is a real world project. So this is what we expect to have. In the end, we have many essays like this. So this is, we are trying to change a little bit the app to don't allow teachers to send this type of images, but it's a real world project. And the NLP pipeline, initially it understand if there are multiple unknown words, if it's a copy from the structure for the essay, if it's off-topic essay, and if everything is right, we evaluate the essays for these 4 criteria to give students scores from 1 to 5 in each one of these criteria. Just an evaluation. I won't go into details because we don't have much time, and I still want to talk about a couple of things, but I can come back if you want to know more about this study. And in the end, this is what the teachers are getting. So this is the feedback for the whole cohort of students that they are teaching. And we have the percentage of students in different levels for different criteria. And we have things that the students are doing right and things that they need to improve. Based on that, the teachers can improve their content for the students. They can maybe think about a different type of classes and things like that. So this is the whole idea of the project. And in this case, we have a tool for teachers, not for students. And finally, I just want to raise a few challenges and final considerations. First of all, it's important to say that AI for education, in this case, learn analytics, it's about learning. It's not about AI. This is a very good paper. It's a short paper. I think it has 6 or 7 pages. It dates back 2015. So many things change in the AI world from that perspective, from that date to now. But I think the concept, the idea of these papers is still very, very relevant. I usually go to many institutions that they are just asking to use AI, but they are not considering the pedagogical side before using AI. And this way, probably AI will be used by students to cheat or I don't know, it will be not, you will see that the students won't engage, or the teachers won't engage, because everything needs to be connected with the pedagogy. And just a study that I like a lot as well. Imagine this does not include AI, but this is a graph of our effect size on learning gains over the cost. And you can see that, for instance, if you can have a good quality feedback, or you can have a good quality homework for students. These are secondary and primary students, like school students. But if you have a good homework for students, it's not very expensive, and it's very helpful in terms of learning gain. It's as helpful as one-on-one tuition. So sometimes we think that, for instance, this one, smaller classes, like, right, I don't know if you are seeing my mouse, but it's on the right bottom of the graph. It says smaller classes. This is very expensive, and it's not as effective as using other things here for improving learning. What I mean with this graph is using AI may not change learning in the end, because it needs to be connected with the pedagogic behind the things, and it also needs to be connected with what the teachers want to teach and what the institutions want to promote. Otherwise, it will be just a fancy tool that are not being properly used. Of course, we need to consider some responsible statements. There are a lot of publications on this direction. It's called Responsible AI, and it tells a lot about explainability of the decisions and the transparency of the decisions, and if it's not biased and things like that. I just highlighted this Duolingo standards, because Duolingo was one of the first to publish after generative AI became popular. But there are many and many guidelines and standards on this direction. But this is something important to consider if you want to use AI in the education sector. And the initial studies on the effects of generative AIs are starting to be published now, because of course when it started, everyone started to use, and it takes time to do good quality research. And this is just an example. There are other papers, and in this case, the main highlight of this paper is that the students are improving the performance, but they are not developing some metacognitive behavior that we expect them to develop over the process of learning. In other words, for me, it means we need to change what we are evaluating right now. If you are just evaluating the final production of a essay, the students probably will improve because generative AI can help them to write better. But if you are evaluating the process of writing instead of the final, just the final essay, you can capture different things. So yeah, this is the point. And finally, this is a graph. It's called Hypocycle. It is created by Gartner Institute. If you put in the internet, this visualization is not that good. Now I can see it. But if you put in the internet like Hypocycle Gartner, you will see many different technologies. In this case, it's natural language technology, because it is the main theme of this talk. And I just want to highlight how this works. Like this is the curve for expectation. So when new technologies started to become popular, a lot of things are expected of this. So they are coming up of this curve. But then when the people start to realize what is really available for that technology, the technology in general it goes down as well. So you can see that generative AI and learning language, like large language model, they are going down on this expectation curve. But there are some other things like multimodal generative AI, which is becoming popular now. They have artificial generative intelligence, which OpenAI promised in a couple of months ago. So there are many things coming up, like autonomous agents, and in general, we expect these things to change over the years, but now it's changing over the months. So if you want to do research on NLP, I would probably start doing something that is more like you can see in the bottom of this table. This is the year to maturity, so you can get something that will be mature enough in 5 to 10 years. From this study, it means 1 year or two in reality nowadays, because everything is moving so fast. But this give you an idea on the trends of natural language technologies and what is already consolidated with what we have now. And that's it. Hopefully, we still have time for questions. And there's
Thank
some.
you. Thank you so much for the nice presentation. Yeah, yeah, let's start with the first question. But before I want to say something about I have seen many comments in the chat about the connection between the webinar and the online chapter. So, for example, in the third webinar, real world application in the online chapter of University of Helsinki, they talked about odd and probability, you know, that represents the base of machine learning algorithm that can handle the situation of uncertainty in an environment that we don't have predictable statement. So I want you to give an explanation about the, this context with regard to the natural language processing, because we know that probability is also used for text generation. It's about probability as well. Just I want you to give an overview of this before we go about the question.
Yeah, sure. As I mentioned before, when you are talking about natural language processing, you have these vectors, right? So each word is represented by a vector in a multidimensional space. When we are talking about these models with 8 billion or 10 billion parameters, it means that we have these big vectors that represent specific words or tokens or sentences, depends on the model. And everything when you change for these vectors, very big vectors, you enable computers to do these sophisticated calculations. So when you create these calculations, you can project, like you have a word with a vector. Let me, if I, can I go back? I don't know. Can you see my slides? Can you still see my
No, Emily, can you allow the slide?
if okay, I'm not in this. Let me, can I go? Okay, so changing here. I want to show you
Yes, I have seen a slide
this one.
about.
This one.
Yes, this one. This one.
Uh, so when you have these vectors. Imagine a vector with 8 billion spaces. So each word in this multidimensional aspect, you have a vector. In this case, you have the vector of D, the vector of sky, and the vector of is. And based on this sequence of words, you do some vectorial computations to try to extract the top tokens that can come after these three words. So it's a matter. I could go into uh, formulation like calculations and everything, but the whole idea is that each one of these words is a vector with several billion of spaces, and you do calculations like cosine similarities, you extract the probabilities and logs, and then you will come up with, this is very simplified of course, but you come up with this box of words. And in this case, like with blue, it's the highest probability, but you can see that the last one, it's a token that is just a sign of bigger than. So this is also considered. So when we are asking something to one of these LLMs in general, they have all of this computation behind the scenes. That's why it takes a lot of machine power to process everything as fast as we can see the output.
Thank
So
you.
the general idea is this.
Yeah. Emily, can we go back to the first question you displayed before? Yeah. Here there is a question. Can we detect if a document text is generated by artificial intelligence? If yes, how?
Yeah,
In
there
your
are.
opinion? Yeah, okay, please go. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, because I see two questions at the same time. In your opinion, what is the best programming language to learn NLP, especially for beginner?
Yeah. Uh, for the first question, there is a field of research that it's called authorship analysis. So even before AI became popular, there were a lot of things on trying to understand if the texts were written by the author, that they are say, like students. So to understand if Rafael is writing a specific essay, for instance, there were some elements that could be extracted using LP. And now these researchers in this field is basically trying to differentiate between AI and humans. So if you want to have more details about it, you should search for authorship analysis, and there are many people doing this analysis using AI and specific tools as well. The point is, it's not 100% certainty. So you can analyze, but in the end, I think you need to have the person behind like the teacher. It's an indication. It's not a deterministic assumption, because otherwise you can do something wrong with your student. And for the second question, definitely I would say Python, because there are many libraries that are already in place for many of these tasks for NLP and also for generative AI. So using Python, you can have a code with 5 or 6 lines and start to use like GPT or Gemini in your program with 5 or 6 lines. So for me, Python is the language to use for NLP.
Thank you. Do you see the question,
Yes,
Raphael?
yes.
Okay.
Can I
Yeah.
just
I didn't understand well this unplugged example. Does the teacher use a PC in which has the application. The teacher uploads the scan of the essay, receive it from the students, and then the application analyzes the text and give feedback. Is it so the logic of this app?
Yeah, the notion of unplugged for us is students are doing these activities without computers and without any device. So it's unplugged for students. This was important to develop this concept and this application that we did here, because in Brazil many public schools don't have the necessary devices and the necessary internet connection to reach all the students. So we create this, but it's unplugged on the student side, and the teacher needs to use a cell phone, not a PC, because in many public schools in Brazil they don't have PCs for teachers as well. So they need to use a cell phone, and they take pictures from these essays, and then we extract everything that I showed, and we create the feedback for teachers. But the feedback was developed on a way that can be printed as well. So in the end, the feedback can be also unplugged, because in many cases, as I mentioned, the teachers don't have access to PC. So sometimes in schools they just have one printer. So they use this printer to print the feedback that our system generated and give them to teachers. So it's unplugged on the student side, and also the feedback can be printed, but we require the teachers to have a cell phone to take pictures.
Okay. Another question are about LLM. Okay, I understand that there has been an evolution of the various model. So whenever new model are being created or could be implemented into the development of AI, do they consider, for instance, the evaluation of human language based, for example, for French, to French Academy, where they decide which new words are considered as usable? Another external source would be the human brain, so more neurological science. What are thoughts on neural link? This is a very long question.
Yeah, I'm not an expert in neurological science, but what I can say is that the main technology behind LLMs right now is these probabilities and the transformer architecture. What we see in the evolution of these models, based on the one side, it's process of more data. This is something, and on the other side is they are implementing and included steps in between the prediction and the prompt and the prediction. So for instance, if you use GPT-4 and then use GPT-4 O, of GPT-01 or 03, you will see that explicitly in the interface, the model will say, I'm thinking, I'm considering different options. So it creates, the model have time to think. This is the point. So it's not a different way of training, but it's a different way of processing the information and getting the answer. So this is the main thing. And the DeepSeek, for instance, it included a mechanism to do some reinforcement learning. So it's learning over the way. That's why it's able to improve the performance, even if they don't have many infrastructure, as OpenAI has. So it's not about the core, it's more about other aspects. And so we haven't changed the technology much since generative AI started. I don't know if we could have these neural links to improve this type of training. yeah, not familiar with that.
Mhm. Thank you. Does Duolingo providing with a list of the AI responsible statements?
Yes, if you get, I have the link in my slides, and the link it's a document with several recommendations.
Mhm. Is traditional NLP and supervised machine learning?
It can be supervised and unsupervised. It depends on the type of activity you want to do. So if you want to do like information extraction, like extracting uh, like names, like organization, names of a person, and things like that, it can be unsupervised. But if you are doing sentiment analysis, for instance, it will be supervised. So it depends on the target of your application.
Mhm. Metacognitive laziness, you stated the subject of evaluation. Does it mean you will be evaluated in your skills gained and not knowledge?
Uh, Not necessarily. I think it's a very good read. I have the link in the slides as well. But my point is, if we keep evaluating what we are evaluating right now, it's it, AI will help students to cheat in the end. But what my main point is, we need to find ways to evaluate the process and not necessarily only the outcome of an activity. It can mean skills, but it also can mean knowledge. But the main point is don't see only the outcome, because the good example is for essay production. If you expect the students to use AI, uh, if you just look at the final outcome, probably the essay will be better because AI will help students to write it more clearly. But if you can't collect the process of writing, for instance, get the prompt, get the outputs of the prompts that the students are using, and then see how they create the essay based on that, I think this will be a good way of measuring things.
Mhm. When you mention, this is the question that you already, I think, when we asked about the probability. Are there specific discipline that particularly suit to AI, programming, perhaps?
I think nowadays of many disciplines are using. Even now, my institution they paid this Google Workspace to use the AI part of what they are providing now, and it's easy even to create spreadsheets with AI. You say what you want, and Google creates a spreadsheet. For programming, it's more. We have more results right now because people started to use AI for programming before generative AI. So we already know productive gains. We know other things, but I think it can be used for many disciplines.
Mhm. Do we have another question, Amelie?
No, it's all good.
Okay, I have a question about Duolingo because I work in AI for education aspects. So I know about some limitation that Duolingo application has. Like, so Duolingo is a gamified application that personalizes the learning for students. Uh, so it personalized the learning depending on the need and weaknesses of the student. And the content, the recommendation is something that comes from the AI, the LLM, which can expose the learner to inaccuracy and the hallucination. What do you think about this? Can we trust this tool for education?
Yes, I don't know specifics about Duolingo in this direction, but I can answer your question in my broader opinion. I think you're completely right. We cannot just include an LLM within a learning context, expecting it to answer good quality answers in all cases. But what I can see is for specific cases and for control environments, it can be uh, used with quality. For instance, I think for Duolingo, what they did was they are not answering deeper questions. They are just answering shallow questions, and when it realized that it's too deeper, it asks the teacher to answer. So it's possible to create these mechanisms to don't answer very deeper questions, for instance. But of
Mhm.
course, it's a risk. When you put this open, it's always a risk, and you need to try to mitigate. On the other side, if you don't have this chatbot in your platform, you may the students may go to general purpose chatbots,
Mhm.
which can be even
Exactly.
worse.
Yeah, that's true. It doesn't go deeper because it use a teaching materials that comes with the application, and this teaching can miss the pedagogy of the teacher, and it provides progress based in rule basis like skills. I finished the skill number one, I can go to the skill number two. So this the pedagogy is missing, and the teacher in the loop is also missing because when we provide the content, it has to be validated by an educator to check if the content is reliable, if the pedagogy taken in consideration, and also the scaffolding parts. I mean, so the scaffolding is that I am a teacher, I need some support from the application, but at certain time I don't need anymore this
Mm-hmm.
report.
Mm-hmm.
So the scaffolding, if it is included in such a application, I can ensure that my students will not be over relied to the AI because without scaffolding, it's just like we can give in too much assistance to a student who will become with this very dependent, and this
Mm-hmm.
is a very challenging issue that when a student is using too much AI application in their learning.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. This is the question with regard to the first one. This person wants to know to remember the name of the application you give about AI detection. I think the authorship, not
Authorship, yes. I just type
authorship.
it in the chat.
Yeah,
Authorship
this is authorship.
analysis.
Yes. Okay. So I think we are done. Um, Thank you for taking the time to be with us. Thank you for the nice
Thank you very much.
presentation. Thank you for the answer. Thank you so much. It was very useful and very important to discuss with you and to share your knowledge with us. Thank you so much.
Thank
So,
you very much.
yes, dear participants, thank you for attending. I hope that you appreciate today webinar. So please,